It's May 25th. I'll just do an update of the garden. We just finished bloom for most of these fruit trees. This is my green gauge plum, European plum. It just had its first flowers this year. They are gone now, but it was just really low on the branch here. There's one or two flowers, so not going to get any fruit this year, but nice to see it's not too far off. It's had really good growth. It's only a couple years old and it's grown really well, but no fruit again. The Bartlett pear, it's been a very slow grower. It probably gets a bit more shade from the bigger trees here. But no flowers this year. The Harold Delight pear, it's quite a bit bigger than the other pear, the Bartlett. It was planted at the same time. It's been more vigorous, maybe gets a little bit more sun as well. Did have several clusters of fruit this year, and you can see some have appeared to have set. We got couple pears here, and there's more flower clusters down here and over here. So maybe we'll get to try some this year. It did grow one pear last year, but that didn't come all the way to fruit. Next I have my wealthy apple. I've showed this several times. It's getting to be a bit older, probably at least 4 years old. Still quite short though, and not that well branched out. No blooms this year, so it's been very slow to grow. The Chijuro Asian pear, lots of flowers this year. They're pretty neat color flower. They're white, but they've got pink stamens inside. Looks like some fruit set this year. Well, I guess it's a little early to tell yet, but some of these look like they have some fruit set on them. Got a couple little pears off from last year, and they were tasty. Next I have the Honeycrisp apple, and I actually dug out the old one I had, and it was just kind of runted out and it wasn't growing anymore, so bought a bigger one. It's quite a bit bigger than the one I had in here. It's a dry location. It's a little bit higher on the hill here. It had a couple of flowers on it from the store. It's done now, but probably have to pull all those off since it's just getting established this year. And the kiwi vines here. So we had a fairly quite a mild winter this year. And so we didn't get any dieback of the kiwi at all. The last couple years it had died back all the way to the ground, but this year all the vines survived, and just in the last week and a half it's really grown, as some of these shoots are 8 to 10 inches long already from the main vines. So hopefully we'll see some fruiting. Oh, there's a hummingbird there. It's not going to focus. Anyways. I will show the cranberries, the currants that I put in last year. They're quite early, like, I guess I'm just getting used to currants, but this is only May here, and there's lots of fruit. They don't seem like they're that far off being ripe, like another 3 weeks, I'm guessing, I don't know. But just full of flowers, and that was the white currant there, Primus, and then I had a pink currant here. It was a pink champagne. And also put in an extra kiwi bush this year. So the other two are Dumbarton Oaks, and this one is Geneva. So leaves already look a little bit different, but it's grown nicely. I'll just show my my gooseberry here. I get the same problem every year, and I thought it was some kind of sawfly, but it's just leafed out in the last couple of weeks. But already, I guess it's mildew. It's been very dry the last couple of weeks, so I'm really surprised it's got mildew, but it really appears what it is. See the white crusty stuff on there, and the leaves look like they're starting to fail. And usually I notice by mid-June I've lost most of my leaves, and I kind of thought that was the gooseberry sawfly, I think they're called, but maybe it's the powdery mildew. Moving on here. I'll just cover some of the tree that I've been grafting the last couple years. So I'm not exactly sure what the main variety was. I bought it from a hardware store 10 years ago, 11 years ago. and it did fruit many times. I never really liked the fruit, so I've started grafting it over the last couple years. So these 4 grafts out front here are 3 years old, and I did get from the Macoun apple, I got some fruit last year, and once again it has the Macoun has bloomed again this year, so hopefully some more apples off that again. Yeah, and the other 3 varieties haven't done anything yet. Pitmasis and pineapple, the strawberry pippin, and the Ashmead's kernel. And I just put on 2 more varieties this year. I cut off the last 2 remaining branches of the original variety and put on an ambrosia. A friend around here gave me the grafts here, ambrosia and royal gala here. So nothing has grown yet, but I just did this a little while ago. But the buds still look very pink, so I'm not worried. They're gonna take no problem. And all the other ones took really well. The Golden Delicious here had seemed to be a medium fruit set. The flowers are almost all gone now, but seemed to be a decent flower set anyway. It's just coming off that now. This is interesting. This is my my 4 Shrub Cherries, and I had 1 last year and they were good. But this year they were just incredibly full of blooms. This variety here, I think it's Romeo, is a little bit behind the other ones, a week behind. It still has some flowers, but the other Crimson Passion here and Juliet and the other Crimson Passion, pretty much done. You can kind of get a sense here how many blooms there were. Just hundreds, maybe thousands of blooms in there, and hopefully they all set. I'm guessing they have. It looks like some of these are little cherries inside, so I'm hoping we really did get a good fruit set and we'll get to really try these this year. This is the 4th year, and they're maybe 6.5 feet tall. This one's probably 6 feet tall, and they shouldn't get much taller than that or much bigger, but really heavy bloom this year, and hopefully heavy fruit set. Another tree here, the Akane apple. I did get one last year and it was pretty good. It's an early apple, maybe late August or mid-August. This year is really full of blooms, so I should get to try lots. And I'll obviously have to remove lots of fruit here because it was just completely covered in flowers this year. I think one of the trees I'm most happy with is the little dwarf Liberty apple, and it probably set almost 100 apples last year. It's only 3 years old, 4 years old this year. Set 100 apples last year. I pulled most of them off, and I think I let about 30 or 40 ripen, and they were really big, really good tasting apples. I was a little worried just because it was so young that I kind of let it overset, but it's again this year is a huge bloom, and yeah, it just seems unstoppable, this tree. So really impressed with it, how precocious it was, and how big the fruits were in its first year, and really good tasting too. Of course, with the Liberty, known for no disease at all, and it never had any touch of apple scab or apple seed or rust either. So pretty happy with that. One of the new trees I put in this year, I don't have much room left, but I did put in another dwarf apple tree. This is a Sweet 16 here, so it's just a 2 feet high little stick right now, but I'll try to grow that the same way I grew the Liberty. Let's cover a couple more trees here. This was the Burbank plum. Still haven't gotten any fruit off this. This is the second one I've tried. The other one died. So I tried it again, and this was the earliest blooming fruit tree I had here. So those flowers are long gone. I haven't really checked it lately to see if it looked like any fruit set or not. Anyway, the tree looks healthy enough, and there was maybe 15 blooms on there. So we'll see what happens with that. The Shiro tree is quite a bit older. Long wispy branches on it. It's quite a nice form to the tree. It's been fairly disease free. Haven't had a lot of plums, maybe 5 last year, I'm guessing, and they were decent tasting. There's probably maybe 30 to 50 blooms this year. I can still see a couple petals hanging on some of these. Maybe it looks like there is a pear or two in there. So maybe it's definitely not going to be a huge fruit set this year, but hopefully some more. This is the Toka North American Hybrid Plum. Once again, just a massive white showing of flowers this spring, completely covered in flowers. But it did that last year, and it probably set 1 to 200 fruit. But by the almost all of them were gone by the time they were ripened. I think Plum Cuculio got in there and finished them, so I never actually did get any fruit last year. So just have to keep a closer eye on that this year. Yeah, the Haskaps here, I've got 3 Haskaps, Borealis, Honeybee, and Aurora. Aurora is very much smaller than the other 2. Borealis being the biggest, and they're very early. They flowered probably 3 weeks ago, and you can see the berries coming along already. They're a decent size already, and it looks to be pretty full too. So maybe at least 100 berries on that. A couple new blueberries there, Rika, and the one I planted last year was Duke, earlier variety. One of my other European plum is the Mount Royale. It had, like the green gauge, it had probably 2 or 3 flowers this year. So probably don't expect to see any fruit, but been a very healthy growing tree and quite rapid growing. It's probably 9 to 10 feet tall now. Nice looking tree, and I'm really expecting big things out of the 2 European plums for next year. This is the Stella cherry. Again, in my experience with cherries, is they're very fast growing trees. This one's 4, maybe 5 years old. It's quite tall already, and it probably had about 20 blooms on it this year. The Van cherry is probably 8 years old now. It's a massive tree. Only ever had one good fruit set off it, and that was about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. This year it seemed to be a fairly low bloom, maybe 70 to 100 flowers off a huge tree that size, so not that many fruits. Plum tree I planted last year was black ice, so it had really good growth last year. It's only its 2nd year, so don't expect anything. And the last 2 here are the peach trees. As I said, it was a very warm winter, but one weekend did get down to minus 30 Celsius for 2 days in a row. So I think that did in all the flower buds, and didn't get any flowers this year from either the Harrow Diamond or the Reliance Peach. Okay, I think that's the update for now, and maybe we'll do one again in about a month when it's a little bit more clear how much fruit set from all these. Thanks.